Revelation 21:23-26. The city had no need of the sun or of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of Yah illuminated it. The Lamb is its light, and the nations of those who are saved shall walk in its light, and the kings of the earth bring their glory and honor to it. Its gates shall not be shut at all by day, there shall be no night there, and they shall bring the glory and the honor of the nations to it. This chapter in Revelation 21 focuses on Yah's heavenly kingdom, which will descend from the third heaven to earth. But who are the nations and the kings of the earth that will bring their glory and their honor to it? In this video, I aim to shed light on the nations that will exist during the Millennial Reign, as this is a topic that is not often discussed or taught. Let's look at some of the verses that refer to the nations during Messiah's return. There are multiple references to different types of nations, so I just want to clarify first the distinction between all of them. Here are some verses that describe the evil nations that will be gathered for destruction by Yahushua when he returns. Zephaniah 3:8. Therefore, wait for me, says Yahuwah, until the day that I rise up for plunder. My determination is to gather the nations to my assembly of kingdoms, to pour on them my indignation, all my fierce anger. All the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. Revelation 19:19. And I saw the beast, the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him who sat on the horse and against his army. Revelation 16:14-16. For they are the spirits of demons performing signs, which go out to the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. Behold, I am coming as a thief. Blessed is he who watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And they gathered them together to the place in Hebrew called Armageddon. There is also a group of nations that will be judged when Yahushua and Yah return. So these aren't the nations that came up against Yahushua at the Battle of Armageddon, so those nations have been destroyed. Instead, this group of nations will have survived Yah's wrath, and they will be gathered for judgment to determine if they are allowed to live during the Millennial Reign. This is the judgment of the sheep and the goats. Joel 3:2. I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will enter into judgment with them there, on account of my people, my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and they have also divided up my land. Matthew 25:31-33. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all of the holy angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them from one another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he will set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on his left. And then it goes on to determine how he's going to separate them. So there will be a separation of some righteous and the wicked who both have survived Yah's wrath. This separation won't be us. We are not the sheep and the goats. We will not enter straight into judgment. We will have received our resurrected bodies. It is important to understand that during the Millennial Reign, it won't just be believers living in this time period. We will be ruling over the nations who will be living across the whole earth around the kingdom. The resurrected believers will be dwelling in the heavenly city. So this will be like the headquarters, if you will. This is where the King of the earth and the Most High will reside. This is where they will rule and reign from. The nations around the world will live in complete peace with Yahushua as their king. Please pause the video and look up all of these verses that describe this. Now, these are just the ones that I have found whilst reading the Bible, but as you go on to study and read the Bible for yourselves, you will probably notice so many more. I'm sure there are so many more prophecies about the nations living in peace around the kingdom. Here are just a couple of verses that just describe the nations traveling to the millennial kingdom. Zechariah 14:16-17. Everyone who is left of all the nations which came up against Jerusalem shall go up year by year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Revelation 21:23-24, which we read earlier, but I'll just repeat it. So the city, which is New Jerusalem, had no need of the sun or of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of Yah illuminated it. The Lamb is its light, and the nations of those who are saved shall walk in its light, and the kings of the earth shall bring their glory and honor to it. So the nations of those who are saved shall walk in its light, and this directly coincides with Isaiah 60. The Gentiles shall come to your light, and the kings the brightness of your rising. It goes on to say, the wealth of the Gentiles shall come to you, the multitude of camels shall cover your land. So that's just describing how the Gentiles or how the nations are going to get to New Jerusalem. They're also going to go in ships as well, which we covered in the last video. Revelation 21:25-26. Talking about New Jerusalem, its gates shall not be shut at all by day, there shall be no night there, and they shall bring the glory and the honor of the nations to it. So they are the kings of the earth, they are the Gentiles who would have survived the wrath. Again, direct correlation to Isaiah 60:11. Therefore your gates shall be open continually. This is talking to Zion, New Jerusalem. They shall not be shut by day or night, that men may bring to you the wealth of the Gentiles and their kings in procession. Isaiah 62:1-2. The Gentiles shall see your righteousness, and all kings your glory. Jeremiah 16:19. Yahuwah, my strength and my fortress, my refuge in times of trouble. The nations will come to you from the ends of the earth and say, our ancestors possessed nothing but false gods, worthless idols that did them no good. Tobit 14:6. All the nations of the world will turn and reverence Yah in truth. All will cast away their idols which have deceitfully led them in error. A bright light will shine to all the remotest parts of the earth, and many nations will come to you from far away. The inhabitants of the ends of the earth to your holy name, bearing gifts in their hands for the King of heaven. Generation after generation will give joyful praise in you, and the name of the chosen city will endure forever. So you can see how all of these verses all coincide with each other, and we all agree that Revelation 21 and 22 is talking about New Jerusalem, which will descend from the heavens. Everyone believes, I don't know why we all believe it, everyone does believe that New Jerusalem will descend after the Millennial Reign. It's so clear when you correlate all of the verses that it will descend when Messiah returns, which is obviously before the Millennial Reign. This is where we are going to live during the Millennial Reign. This is the city that all of the nations are going to be bringing their wealth to. They're going to be coming to worship Yah. They're going to be traveling to New Jerusalem. They will journey to the holy city and worship Yah and learn his ways. This is the place where the Torah will come forth from, as described in Micah. Now it shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of Yah's house shall be established on top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and peoples shall flow to it. Many nations shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of Yah, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. Out of Zion the law shall go forth, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. In my previous video, titled The Ships of Tarshish, we examined the verses from Isaiah 60, Isaiah 49, and Isaiah 66 that depict the nations traveling to New Jerusalem by ships, camels, and mules after surviving the wrath. Now, what does the Bible say that they will encounter on their journey to the city? Psalms 110, 5-6. The Lord is at your right hand. He shall execute kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the nations. He shall fill the dead places with bodies, and he shall execute the heads of many countries. Isaiah 66, 23-24. And it shall come to pass that from one moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, all flesh shall come and worship before me, says Yahuwah. And they will go forth and look upon the corpses of the men who transgressed against me. For their worm does not die, and their fire is not quenched, and they shall be an abhorrence to all flesh. So there will be a constant reminder for the nations who are traveling to the holy city. They will see the corpses lying on the ground of the people who transgressed against Yah. The nations will put their swords down. They will live in complete, perfect peace with our Messiah as their King of Kings and ruler over the whole earth. Again, please pause the video and go through each of these verses that I've found, which show that there's going to be complete peace during the millennial reign. The reason why I'm emphasizing this is because there are large ministries that are saying that the nations who will be living around the kingdom will be living in poverty. They will be living poor. They will have to fend for themselves. When that is not true, it's not the case. Yahusha and Yah will be reigning in truth, in justice. The nations who will be living during the millennial reign will have no corruption. They won't have a corrupt government. They won't have a corrupt royal family like England does. They too will be blessed. Isaiah 65:17-25. For behold, I create a new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered or come to mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in what I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem as a rejoicing and her people a joy. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people. The voice of weeping shall no longer be heard in her, nor the voice of crying. No more shall an infant from there live but a few days, nor an old man who has not fulfilled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. They shall build houses and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and eat their fruit. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree, so shall be the days of my people, and my elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth children in trouble. For they shall be the descendants of the blessed of Yahuwah, and their offspring with them. It shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer. While they're still speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together. The lion shall eat straw like the ox, and the dust shall be the serpent's food. And they shall not hurt nor destroy in my holy mountain, says Yahuwah. So reading this verse, we know that this is could be talking about both us and the nations. Obviously, the nations are going to be the one who are repopulating the earth. The nations are going to be the ones who are going to be still having babies. So this is saying that the nations will be bringing forth children without pain. They're not going to be laboring in vain like, we do now with our extortionate taxes that we have to pay. Everything is going to be completely just. There's going to be no corruption, no one building houses with other people inhabiting them. Everything is going to be completely perfect for these nations. This passage also shows that there's still going to be sin with the nations. They're not going to have their glorified bodies. Only we will have our resurrected bodies. They will still be sinning. It says, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. They will still sin. So all of that to say that the nations will be living around us in perfect peace for 1,000 years. We will become a holy nation, a royal priesthood in the order of Melchizedek, and we will be teaching Torah to the nations. And that's just one little side note that I want to say as well. The reason why there is going to be perfect peace during the millennial reign is because everyone is going to be keeping Torah. So those who say that the Torah is a curse or anything like that, clearly it is not. It is such a blessing, and that is the only way that there can be peace on the earth, is when the Torah goes forth from Zion. So here is a quick summary and timeline of everything that we've discussed. So the 7 trumpets of Revelation will begin to sound, bringing woes upon the earth. At the 7th and final trumpet, the firmament will roll back like a scroll. So that's the heavens. The heavens will roll back like a scroll, and Yahusha will appear to every single person on the earth. The dead in Christ will rise first, followed by those who are still alive and remain, and together they will be caught up and gathered by angels and taken into the barn for protection. Yah's wrath will then descend, and the nations gathered for the battle of Armageddon, they will be destroyed. Afterward, the believers who were protected and taken into the barn, they will return to the earth. They will descend from heaven to the earth because they would have been taken up into New Jerusalem, which is the barn, which currently sits in the third heaven. So this is what John the Revelator saw in Revelation 21. This is New Jerusalem descending down from heaven. The firmament rolling back like a scroll allows New Jerusalem to be able to descend from above. The heavenly kingdom will be established on earth, and Yah and his son will dwell in Yah's sanctuary, which is New Jerusalem. It's a magnificent city, and it measures around 1,500 square miles, according to Revelation, and it will be the beacon of light for all of the nations to travel to. Nations will be gathered before Yahusha in the valley of Jehoshaphat, where he will judge the sheep and the goats. People will travel by various means to New Jerusalem to worship Yah, and they will lay down their swords, never warring again. We, as a royal priesthood, will teach the nations Torah and will reign with Yahusha in the order of Melchizedek. After 1,000 years, Satan will be released to deceive the nations. They will gather, or some of them who were deceived, will gather against New Jerusalem, but fire will be poured down upon them and they will be destroyed. This will be followed by the second resurrection and the final judgment. So I hope this teaching clarifies the topic of the nations during the Millennial Reign. So we won't be the only ones living during that time. The nations will still exist, and they will come to New Jerusalem to worship Yah and learn his ways. Please take some time to study all of the verses that were shown on the screen and meditate on them. I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think below. Thank you so much for watching. I pray that the Most High blesses and keeps you all.